Hi guys, so today I'm going to be DIYing a knife pleated paper lampshade. This is a lampshade that I've been wanting for a really long time, but unfortunately it retails anywhere from like $50 to $100 depending on the size. And I don't know about you, but that is too much for me. So today I'm going to be attempting to DIY this for less than $5. So here's the things you'll need. 11 by 14 poster board from Michael's, a pencil, a ruler, a hole punch, glue, book rings from the dollar store, and a knife. The only thing that can vary is the size of the poster board or the book rings, just depending on the size lampshade you want to make. So we are going to start by using our ruler to mark out every 1 inch along the top and the bottom of the poster board. This is going to be the guide for where to make your pleats, so you could make this larger or smaller just depending on the size pleats that you want to make. I tried a couple different sizes and 1 inch seemed to work the best. So once you're done making your marks, we are going to start scoring. A lot of people probably know what this is, but this was new to me. So basically it just makes for a much crisper fold and will make the pleats really sharp since you are creating a guide for the paper to follow once you start folding it. So if you're a professional, you can pull out your scoring stylus. I just learned what a scoring stylus was 5 minutes ago, so I'm going to use my butter knife. But honestly, this does the job just fine. So you're going to line up your ruler between the marks that we just made at the top and bottom of the paper, get it nice and straight, and then run your object alongside the ruler 4 or 5 times. You don't want to cut too deep, but just enough that you see a little bit of an indentation in the paper, but not too much where you actually cut through it. Now go ahead and erase those pencil marks as much as you can. We will not be needing those anymore. So now we are going to start the satisfying part, which is folding the pleats. So this is pretty simple. You're just going to start folding the paper back and forth, alternating directions with each fold. So this first sheet will kind of give you a gauge on how you need to score. Some of them might be a little bit more difficult to fold if you didn't score it enough, so it'll give you a good idea, but don't worry, we have a lot of these to make. Just make sure that you are creasing them and pressing them in between folds to make sure you get the cleanest pleat. So we're going to be making a ton of these. So as soon as I finish one, I place it in between 2 heavy books and let it sit there as I'm doing the rest, just to keep adding pressure and make it as crisp as possible. So we are just going to keep marking, scoring, and pleating until we have enough to start forming the lampshade. The next step is going to be to add hole punches to the tops of all of the poster board. This is where we will run the book ring through and it will make the top of the lampshade. So just decide how much paper you want sticking up above the ring. I did it fairly close to the top, about like 1/4 of an inch. Once you make that first hole punch, pretty much the hard work is done. You can just mark the next pleat with a pencil to outline where you'll be punching the hole. And then you can use the guide on the hole punch, line it up with that pencil mark you just made, and now all of your holes will be at the same distance without having to do a bunch of measuring. And just continue on doing this until you have made a hole in all of the pleats. Now that we have all of our poster board pleated and hole punched, it's going to actually start looking like a lampshade. So we are going to start gluing all of the individual pieces of poster board together. In hindsight, I would have glued the poster board together before I hole punched, because in order to get them to connect perfectly without having to overlap the pleats, you kind of need to be able to flip them back and forth. And the way I did it, it didn't give me really an option to alternate directions of the poster board or anything, so that meant that some of the pleats had to be kind of doubled up to get them to lie flat. So it still works, but it definitely isn't the best use of paper and would make a little more sense to do this first. So you just keep gluing the poster board until all of the pieces are connected. All right, so now we are on to the final step. So we are going to start with the book ring, and we're just going to be running this through all of the holes on the top of the poster board. This part is seemingly straightforward, but it is a little bit difficult just because there's a lot of maneuvering and trial and error to get the book ring successfully through all of the paper and get it connected. So pretty much what you're doing here is you are just scrunching up the pleats and adding them to one side of the book ring. Once that side of the book ring is full, you just do the same process on the other side. That part is pretty simple. It just gets a little bit tricky when you have to close the book ring. I promise it is possible. It's just a little bit of trial and error. Once you get that book ring closed through all the pleats, we finally almost have a lampshade. The very, very last step is just going to be gluing these last two pleats together so that it's completely seamless. And once that dries, we're ready to add this to our lamp. And here's the finished product.